I rendered my brother and sister-in-law temporarily homeless due to a joke. I do not regret this decision. I am a 36-year-old single father to my 2 children, whom I will refer to as Gabriel, age 17, and Becky, age 14. Their mother, my late wife, passed away 8 years ago after a prolonged illness. This loss was profoundly devastating for our family, and we are still in the process of healing. Since her passing, I have not remarried nor pursued serious dating, as I believe I will never experience love for anyone else as I did for her. I miss her deeply, yet I find solace in remaining single in her absence. Additionally, it is pertinent to mention that the house we currently reside in originally belonged to my wife's grandfather. She inherited it upon his death and subsequently bequeathed it to me in her will. It is a spacious and pleasant home, featuring 5 bedrooms and a substantial amount of land. I have a younger half-brother, whom I will refer to as James, who is 30 years old. James and I share the same father but have different mothers. To be candid, we have never been particularly close. Without delving into unnecessary details, our upbringings and our relationships with our father have been markedly different, leading to considerable tension between us. However, at the end of last year, James experienced a series of unfortunate events. The company where he was employed unfortunately went bankrupt, resulting in his job loss. Given that he operates in a highly specialized and competitive industry with limited job opportunities, he faced significant challenges in securing new employment. As the primary breadwinner for his family, this situation was particularly distressing for them. A few weeks later, they suffered a devastating house fire that rendered them homeless and destroyed many of their possessions. Although we were not particularly close, I did not wish to see my family endure such hardship. Since I had the capacity, I extended an invitation for James and his family to stay with me until they could regain stability. Consequently, our household consisted of myself, my 2 children, James, his wife Laura, and their 9-year-old twins, Abby and Sarah. It quickly became evident after their arrival that our lifestyles and viewpoints differed significantly. In essence, James and Laura identify as a traditional couple, which is why James was the sole provider for their family. They adhere to the belief that a man should work while his wife manages the home and cares for the children, a principle they are instilling in their daughters. I respect their choice to live this way, as it is their prerogative. However, my household operates differently. I have always encouraged my children to engage in household chores and to pursue any career paths they desire. I was aware of our differing lifestyles prior to their move-in, but I did not foresee it becoming a source of conflict. Yet, approximately a month into their stay, I began to observe that James and Laura were attempting to impose their values on my family. On occasions when it was Gabriel's responsibility to wash the dishes, Laura would assert that he shouldn't be doing that and would either request one of her daughters to take over or suggest that Becky handle the task instead. I also observed that James had begun to rely on Becky for tasks he was fully capable of managing himself, such as fetching a drink while the family was watching television or asking her to tidy up after a mess he had created. I consistently addressed this behavior whenever it arose and eventually decided to have a conversation with both James and Laura. I informed them that while they are free to live as they choose in their own home, there are specific expectations in my household, and I would appreciate their adherence to these rules while residing under my roof. They attempted to resist initially, but I remained resolute, and they ultimately acquiesced. In the following months, the atmosphere appeared to be stable. There were a few minor disagreements between Gabriel and James regarding differing viewpoints, but these were never serious and only resulted in a few spirited discussions at the breakfast table. I also noticed that Becky found Abby and Sarah somewhat bothersome, as they frequently wanted to be in her room or in her vicinity. However, this was typical behavior for a teenager sharing a home with younger children and did not escalate into anything significant. By late July of this year, James secured a new job in his field, and they began the search for their own residence. Everything seemed to be progressing well. Nevertheless, during this same period, I detected a change in the dynamic between Gabriel and Laura. He appeared increasingly uncomfortable in her presence, avoided being alone with her, and refrained from engaging with her in group situations. This behavior struck me as unusual, given that he is typically a relaxed and sociable individual. I inquired about the situation and whether anything had transpired. Initially, he insisted that nothing was wrong and that Laura was simply being herself, which was beginning to irritate him. From this, I inferred that he was merely feeling overwhelmed. I interpreted his comments to imply that she would once again advocate the notion that, as a man, he should refrain from engaging in any form of domestic work. I considered addressing the matter at that moment, but ultimately chose to remain silent, knowing they would soon be relocating and the issue would no longer be relevant. A few weeks later, while James, Laura, and their children were out for the day, my daughter approached me with something significant to share, which she feared might upset me. Upon inquiring, she revealed that Laura had informed her that my lack of remarriage or a new relationship was due to women of my age not wanting to settle for someone who did not embody the qualities of a real man. Additionally, Laura had made a joke suggesting that my late wife might have been unfaithful prior to her passing. Becky further disclosed that Laura had claimed I was jealous of my brother, who supposedly earned everything he had while my home was merely a handout. It is important to note that, aside from inheriting the house, I have worked diligently for all that I possess. Laura also expressed pity for Gabriel, suggesting that I would turn him into a pussy like me. Naturally, I was already incensed by this information, but I felt it necessary to speak with my son to ascertain whether he had been subjected to similar remarks. Upon questioning him, I learned that Laura had not only made the same jokes to him, but had also proposed hiring a sex worker for his 18th birthday to facilitate his transition into manhood. Gabriel, who was not attracted to girls, informed her of this, but she merely dismissed his feelings with laughter, asserting that he'll learn to be. When James and Laura returned, I promptly confronted her regarding these comments. She did not refute any of my claims. Instead, she laughed and insisted it was all in jest, urging me to lighten up. I made it clear that I found her remarks unacceptable and that she would no longer be welcome in my home if this was the manner in which she intended to address my children. I demanded either a sincere apology or her departure that very night. They were both incensed by the situation, repeatedly urging me to relax and develop a sense of humor. I responded by asserting that I found nothing amusing about it and presented them with the same ultimatum: they must apologize sincerely or Laura would have to leave. I emphasized that my issue was specifically with her and that James and their twins were welcome to remain if they chose, but I could not allow her to stay in my home if she deemed her behavior acceptable. That evening, they gathered their belongings and the entire family relocated to an Airbnb where they resided for a couple of weeks until they secured a new residence. Our family has been divided on this matter. Our father is siding with James, which is not surprising, while unexpectedly, James's mother has reached out to me, acknowledging that Laura's comments were inappropriate and expressing her understanding of my distress, although she believes I overreacted. Both of them have been exaggerating the narrative, claiming that I expelled them in the middle of the night without cause. They left around 7 p.m. and went directly to the Airbnb, which has led many of their friends to perceive me as the antagonist in this situation. I am aware that I acted in the best interest of myself and my children, yet I am facing considerable backlash, which is beginning to take a toll on me. Primarily, I am eager for this ordeal to conclude. I appreciate the opportunity to express my feelings regarding this matter. It has been relieving to share my thoughts.